Hi, it's Michael back from KORONA POS. First things first, it costs a lot to open a cannabis dispensary. Just to get things going requires significant capital resources and, in some instances, political and business connections as well. The actual cost varies greatly. Several factors are at play, such as the state you're operating in, the size of your store, and whether you decide to vertically integrate your supply. Either way, expect to need between $200,000 and up to $5 million to open a dispensary these days. Opening a cannabis retail shop is more complicated than other businesses given its real estate limitations, security requirements, costly licenses, and more. The reality of these challenges, their effects, and how to deal with them are explained in this video. Check out the rest of the video to learn more about how much it costs to open a marijuana dispensary and why the cost is what it is. First, there are significant costs of real estate and construction. Finding proper real estate can be one of the toughest hurdles when it comes to opening up a dispensary. There are many rules to consider when looking for a property. Location limitations, special requirements, taxation laws, and hostile municipalities complicate the search. There are also significant location limitations. According to New York's MRTA laws, for example, towns can opt out of allowing recreational dispensaries. And this is a common occurrence. Even if you do find a town that allows you to open a store, there are several types of buildings that your dispensary can't be near. Both state and local regulations lay out these laws. California's state code, for instance, stipulates that a marijuana dispensary shall not be located within a 600-foot radius of a school providing instruction in kindergarten or any grades 1 through 12, a daycare center or youth center that is in existence at the time the license is issued, unless the department or local jurisdiction specifies a different radius. Then, if you add on a local municipality code like Malibu, for example, you get even tighter restrictions. This city cites that the interior walls of the dispensary and/or retailer storefront tenant space shall not be located within 1,000 feet of the property lines of a property containing a church, temple, or other places used primarily for religious worship or a playground, public park, public library, licensed child daycare facility, nursery school, or school that is located within or outside the city. This limits the availability of the actual amount of places in a city where you can legally open a dispensary. Such a lack of inventory drives up demand and pricing. Moreover, dispensaries typically need a sizable space. Aside from cannabis microbusinesses, dispensaries can't really be like pop-up shops. They require built-in security measures that come with many specific architectural provisions required by law. This means that your dispensary will likely have to be outfitted with a large vault, a security room, manned gate, and a check-in area. It also must be large enough to meet the demands of your inventory, showroom, purchase flow, style, and more. And because of the stigma surrounding marijuana stores, there are some complications with federally insured banks, driving up the price per square foot. This has limited the real estate inventory available for dispensary rental properties and means that retail cannabis storefronts can cost up to double what most other businesses would pay. In general, you can expect to pay between $100 and $400 per square foot. And with dispensary sizes averaging about 4,000 square feet, that means between several $100,000 and up to $1 million a year just in rent for the property. What about the types of structures that cannabis owners can use? There are 4 types of structures to consider when building a dispensary, including a strip mall conversion, a freestanding conversion, an existing building renovation, and new construction. All 4 have pros and cons as far as what they offer. Strip mall locations are cheaper to convert but require smell proofing for neighbors. Building from scratch is expensive but offers ultimate customization and the most realistic timelines. Historic conversions are risky because of possible unforeseen challenges. Generally speaking, strip mall conversions will cost between $500,000 and $850,000. Freestanding conversion, $350,000 to $1 million. And existing building renovation, $600,000 and up. And new construction, about $900,000 to $3.5 million. You'll also need certain asset requirements to even think about opening a dispensary. Many states require a certain minimum capital in order to even apply for a dispensary license. The bad news is that these requirements are typically extremely steep. The good news is that in most states, they only apply to medical dispensaries and not recreational applicants. An exception is Arizona, where $500,000 in liquid assets are needed to apply for a recreational dispensary license too. Still, states like Ohio and Nevada require $250,000, and many other states are far from cheap. Licensing is a complicated and painstaking matter in the cannabis world, and it's often costly too. First, you typically need to pay an application fee to open a dispensary of any size, and that's before you pay the initial and yearly licensing fees to allow you to operate. And if you own the grow operation and the dispensary, something called vertical integration, you need to have an entirely separate license from your operating one. Between application fees, some of which are non-refundable, licensing fees, and renewal fees, certification costs can add up quickly. These fees also vary greatly depending on the state. There's also the factor of the current state of banking within the legal marijuana industry. Many big legacy banks are unwilling to work with growers and dispensary owners. It's not that it's illegal to finance cannabis businesses, actually it's decidedly not, but it's instead that banks are averse to all high-risk industries. Because of this, 90% of the cannabis industry's lending capital comes from private sources. Often these sources charge extremely high interest rates or demand significant equity in order to get involved. These mostly come in the form of venture capital, private equity groups, or friends and family. Still, it's not impossible to find local credit unions to help finance your operation. California has passed measures to allow banks to accept deposits from marijuana businesses, and Nevada plans to do the same. Just be prepared to pay monthly fees of around $5,000 to credit unions for keeping in financial compliance. Dispensaries also need more advanced security and insurance. When it comes to security, it's required for dispensaries by state and local laws. Different locales have specific statutes about the necessary steps your dispensary must take to ensure that it's tightly secured and regulated. This includes architectural aspects such as vaults, one-way doors, and man traps. Upon entry, you'll need a station to check in customers with ID verification, plus 24-hour surveillance with minimum pixel and storage requirements, certified guards, and more. The installation costs for surveillance for a dispensary vary greatly, usually between $10,000 and $300,000, depending on how big and elaborate your space is. The more divided your space is, particularly with safes and separate rooms, the more cameras you're going to need. Furthermore, armed security guards cost around $70 an hour. And keep in mind that many cloud-based security companies charge a monthly fee for operating, monitoring, and storing your camera footage data. Maintenance and off-site data storage for monitoring can be as much as $35 per camera. And when it comes to insurance, dispensaries are like any other business. They have to have it. This includes general liability, workers' comp, and product liability, standard ones. State laws differ as to what kind of insurance your cannabis retail company needs, but all states require at least some first and third party coverage. Typically, only non-admitted insurance carriers will work with dispensaries, meaning they're not regulated or backed by state insurance guidelines. Depending on the size of your shop, your policy amount, your location, and other factors, you can expect to pay between $1,000 and $5,000 a year for insurance. Also, like any other business, dispensaries will require several different employees. Besides the security, which we just talked about, you'll need well-trained and licensed bud tenders who are ready to help customers with their individual needs, explain products, and upsell accessories and impulse purchases. In addition, you'll need some store managers who have experience working in dispensaries. And finally, depending on the size and scale of your operation, it's best to hire a compliance manager to ensure that your business is operating legally within all of the state tracking and reporting regulations. Operations that grow and manufacture the product will need far more still. Roughly speaking, bud tenders make $15 to $20 an hour, plus customer tips. Store managers are $20 to $35 an hour, and compliance managers $25 to $38 an hour. Any dispensary also needs the right software to be up and running effectively. Make sure to use a point-of-sale system that easily facilitates compliance with whichever seed-to-sale software your state requires. KORONA POS, for instance, is fully integrated with multiple track and trace regulatory systems like Metric and BioTrack. In addition to compliance, it's just important to have a POS that works seamlessly with your CRM and inventory management. Too often, we work with dispensaries who are consistently struggling to keep up with their most popular products stocked. Using a retail inventory management system to keep your products at optimal stock levels and always have what your customers want is critical. Merchandising strategically and implementing effective loyalty programs is a must as well. Shoppers love getting rewards and free items. Plus, remarketing to past shoppers through SMS marketing and email is a great way to encourage more frequent visits. Dispensaries also require more advanced cash security. KORONA POS boasts the best cash control assurance in the industry. Since cannabis is almost exclusively a cash business, many bud tenders take advantage of discounts and deals to pad their tip jar or even remove cash from the drawer. Guarantee that all your sales are accounted for with our built-in security measures, including a cash journal and customizable employee permissions and access. Marketing is another major cost to consider. Cannabis is a remarkably competitive market. You'll need to get the word out that you have quality gummies, pre-rolls, flower, and more for sale. However, you won't necessarily be able to use all of the marketing channels that are typically used for retail businesses. Optimizing for search engines, starting informative blogs, creating brand identity, establishing partnerships with celebrities, and running campaigns on social media are all modern techniques that dispensaries use to digitally market themselves. There are also cannabis-specific apps and websites that you can make use of to promote your storefront, such as weed maps. Overall, shoot for spending at least 5% of your yearly revenue on marketing your store. So for a store doing $500,000 in sales per year, that would be about $2,000 a month for marketing. Acquiring your initial inventory is another major expense. Weed isn't cheap. Merchandising takes craft and strategy based on market research, established relationships with cultivators, and the style and vibe of your dispensary. Cannabis prices vary significantly depending on growing techniques, genetics, location, supply, and demand. As of mid-2022, the average cost of a pound of flower was about $1,200. Prices have actually dropped for certain types of weed in certain places, while others have stayed stable. Unsurprisingly, dispensary retail prices also vary depending on local economic conditions. Hence, doing research about the relationship between these factors can help determine the best location to pursue a retail space. If you're planning on growing your own product, then your overall cost of opening will be astronomically higher. Vertical integration certainly costs more to implement and execute, and in some states you legally can't even do it at all. Vertical integration does bring the opportunity for higher profits, but is a much more complicated process than simply running a retail operation. This industry is filled with extraordinary complication and nuance. It's worth thinking about some more additional niche factors when inquiring into opening a dispensary of any kind. Unlike most businesses, you cannot claim expenses for federal tax deductions. This means that typical tax breaks that businesses get for rent, payroll, utilities, security, and more are not applicable under your tax code because you're technically selling a federally controlled substance. You can, however, deduct your cost of goods sold. This means that whatever you pay to acquire the product that you put on your shelves can be deducted from your gross income before you pay your federal taxes. There are also opportunities for social equity programs that significantly reduce the cost of opening and operating. Social equity laws exist to allow for more opportunities for those disproportionately affected by the war on drugs. People of color were, and continually are, categorically over-policed and over-incarcerated for marijuana-related charges. Therefore, many of the places that have legalized adult-use cannabis have included social equity laws and requirements in an attempt to rectify the glaring inequality within the cannabis world. Social equity candidacy also extends to female business owners, veterans, and individuals with previous marijuana convictions. Some places with cannabis programs have regulations that significantly reduce the cost burden for applications and loans. Many states and municipalities, such as the state of Illinois and the city of Denver, have actually restricted any further new dispensary licenses to only social equity candidates. If you are a potential social equity candidate, this could be something that can make your entry into the industry much easier to achieve. Lastly, some states have added a provision to their cannabis laws for smaller operations known as micro-businesses. As of now, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Vermont, Virginia, Illinois, New Mexico, Michigan, California, and Massachusetts offer this. They generally have requirements such as owners residing close by, operating a smaller size dispensary, and employing less total staff. Micro-business fees are also typically lower. In New Jersey, for example, the fees are by law 50% less than normal. If you're trying to enter the market and have limited capital or simply want to operate a tighter, leaner retail marijuana business, the micro-business category could be a great option for you to free up startup capital for other business needs. No matter what size your retail cannabis business will be or what state you choose to operate in, you should start from the first day using a dependable, robust, compliance-ready point-of-sale system. Utilize our built-in inventory, sales, and employee analytics to get the most out of your data. Equip your store with the latest integrations to keep your customers informed about what you have to offer, and easily reach out to them for promotions and discounts. Give us a call today or click the link in the description to speak directly to a member of our team and get a quote. Thanks for checking out the video, and if you liked it, subscribe to our channel and blog for more cannabis and retail-related info.